We're five daughters.
Yeah, that's a big family.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. And there's no such an American dream.
No.
Came after my dad's family.
Oh.
And my mom's get help. Get the talk to someone you trust. Anything, no matter how bad it is, but we need you to come to us.
Okay.
So that was my full time.
So you just go back and forth.
Yeah, I used to go back and forth.
Like in a week, so 1 week here, 1 week there.
So
or
I will
just-
go 2 days one, 2 days the
Okay.
other one, one day the other
Okay.
one.
Oh, wow.
And I remember when I got my first job, because I was still living with my mom, when I got my job in Aldergrove, which was the first hotel, the first Best Western. I took the job without having a car. I knew how to drive, but I didn't have a car. And my mom said, "How can you take a job?"
Oh, you know, I'm gonna try to get there.
Yeah.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah,
That's true.
That's right. And then my mom's a really good family friend of ours found me like a $300 Omni. Oh, it was like the oldest thing. It was like building 1973. This little car was a hatchback. It was green,
Oh, wow.
but not even like a fancy green. Like, you know, that green. How old is
Mold green.
Yeah. And you know, they found it for me for $300. I remember, you know, I insured it and everything, and the car used to smoke every time we were in the red light. It used to smoke, and but this guy used to drive me back and forth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was the best. I think that was the best ever. My first jobs. And then after that, I worked for the Port of Vancouver for Holland America.
Okay.
Okay.
And that was fun. That was really nice, because I used to go inside the tour buses, get a bunch of seniors out, talk to them a little bit about what to expect inside the cruise ship, and that was Holland America. So that was like beautiful,
Yeah.
right? And that was my experience with the tourism industry, right?
Yeah.
But then when my mom decided to move here to follow my sister, then, you know, I stayed by myself maybe for a few months, but then I followed suit.
Yeah.
And so I left Vancouver, come here. I started working so here I had another 4 jobs, because back in 1996, there was really nothing here.
Yeah.
This was like a big town. Edmonton was like, you know how one artist, I think there was an actor who came and called it Dead Edmonton, and that's why.
Edmonton.
Oh yeah, that back then it was like
Yeah.
not like nothing, right? And I remember I worked for Best Western in the South Side, still the Cedar Park. I worked for the Comfort Inn that is in the West End. Then I worked for Holiday Inn. There was a Holiday Inn that used to be here where the this Radisson is now.
Yeah.
Now the same owners own the Radisson, but it used to be a Holiday Inn. And then I just started working again as night auditor here and there, and just, you know, it's a beautiful industry, but it was a big difference when I came to Alberta, because Alberta has nothing with tourism,
Yeah.
oil and gas,
That's true. That's true.
and hockey teams.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's
Oil and gas and hockey team.
Yeah.
So then you had to adapt then.
Yes. And that was tough, right? Because I was like, wait a minute. Where's my tourist people? Where's my people from?
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
Wherever.
I had to adjust. And then, but not far from that, then a year later in 1997, then I said, I'm going to apply for cruise lines.
Okay.
Because that's how I end up in the cruise line. So I worked for a whole year here. And then I met a girl who was executive housekeeper at the Comfort Inn. And I said, you know, I want to be this in the tourism industry and all that. And she said to me, oh, you're never going to make it in Alberta. That's what she said.
Yeah.
And she says, have you looked at cruise lines? What? Like, bing, right? You can learn something. You can take something to turn it around. No internet. And I said, how do you get into that? And she said, so look at the journal she says, and there's an ad that says
Oh.
hiring for cruise lines.
So wait, hold on,
no-
hold on.
yeah.
There was no internet, so you
Yeah,
can.
there was not that
So
problem.
so it was all like,
Yeah.
Papers and
man, you have to like
newspapers.
really
Newspaper.
hustle to get. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I remember because I wanted it experience, right?
Yeah.
So I remember getting the journal, and there's this little ad. It said, hiring for cruise lines, order your book. All right. So at that time, I think it was like something like $15. But $15 were $15, right? I was making $5.50 an hour for crying out loud in the
Oh.
hospitality, yeah, back then.
$5.50.
$5.50.
Oh.
Yeah, so $15 was a big deal.
Oh, yeah, it definitely was.
So, wow.
Damn.
Oh.
And then you don't know if you're gonna send the money order and the money.
And the half gonna be gone.
Yeah.
That's true.
Oh man.
So I got this book
Mhm.
finally, and all the cruise liner addresses were there.
Yeah. Oh,
Every
okay.
single. And I remember so my general manager from that hotel, his name was Paul. And I said, I really want to apply in these cruise lines, but I don't have a printer at home. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah. yeah.
Right? And he says, oh, you can just print them here. And he allowed me to do it from the hotel. And I sent 50 resumes, all in envelopes.
Oh wow.
Handwriting the thing, 50 resumes.
Wait, what? You handwrote?
Yeah, because what
Wow.
else?
Wow.
Bing, bing, and then photocopy. I had the photocopy, but I didn't have the computer. But
So,
I
yeah.
send them,
Wow.
Yeah.
right?
That's a great. Okay.
And then I still remember it was November. So it was 1990. When was Diana? Yeah, 1997. The day that Princess Diana passed away,
Yeah.
I got that phone call from Norwegian Cruise Line. So out of 50 resumes, one cruise liner called me,
Wow.
right? But my mom never told me.
Oh.
My mom was like, well, what happened was my mom didn't tell me because my eldest sister said, don't tell her, she's going to leave us.
Oh.
Right?
Sabotage.
Yeah, but my mom said, no, she needs to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So I was working at the hotel. My mom calls me. It was a Friday. My mom said, they call you from this cruise liner. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it, right? I call all weekend. Nobody's there on the weekends.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Nobody's there.
Yeah.
But I was calling.
Call you-
Yeah. And then she gave me a call. The lady called me that Monday morning. And she said, well, can you fly to Florida
Oh.
and get into an interview? And I don't know where these words came out. I said, well, wait a minute. Okay, you have to remember, it's the only cruise line who called me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, no. If you're going to hire me, you hire me now. Because I'm not going to risk going for an interview.
And
Yeah.
then,
And then not getting the job.
Going all the way up. Yeah.
Yeah. And then she said, well, can you start November 13th?
Whoa.
Yeah. Again, remember the car story?
Yeah.
Well, with which money am I going to travel?
Travel.
You remember the car story? So I called my mom. She's taking ESL classes.
Another $300 car.
I said to my mom, I got the job. And she says, and how are you going to travel? You don't have money.
Yeah.
And I said, I want you to lend it to me. And she says, yeah, I'll lend it to you. So she lent me her visa.
Yeah.
At that time, $600 was big,
Yeah.
right? So
That's
that
a
was
lot
the
of money.
round trip.
That was a lot of money.
Yeah. And then I left. I left to Florida. I got into a cruise line. Less than 3 months, then I got promoted as a crew purser. So I was in charge of the whole ship crew.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's how I met my husband, because he was one of the crew that I needed to take care of.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
That's big.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, one thing that I wanted to ask you too is, you're like, this is, we're not even halfway in the story, and you've already adapted to so many things.
Yeah.
You from Guatemala had to adapt from that culture,
Yeah.
going to the States, going to North America.
Yeah.
Then from there, coming from North America to Vancouver.
Uh-huh.
Now in Vancouver, your dad leaves, so I adapt to that now. And then from there, you go to air trafficking,
Yeah.
but then you end up doing that. You go into the hotel industry,
Yes.
then into the cruise industry. How were you able to constantly adapt to all these different settings and different environments?
I think for me, I have always been very adaptable to my environment
Yeah.
because I make friends really quickly, right?
Okay.
I love getting to know people. I have never been afraid of getting into a new environment
Yeah.
and really just what will be the possibility, right?
Yeah.
And I think those environments is what have made me the character I am, right? Because if I would feel afraid, probably I wouldn't have made it, right?
Yeah.
But I have always been comfortable coming in, and yes, you at least you have some fear,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
right? But if you don't jump on it, you will never know what could happen, right?
Yeah.
And the cruise line industry was so different,
Yeah.
right? Because I was like, okay, right? This is different. That's a different lifestyle,
Yeah.
right? Different in everything,
Right.
very different. But it was just so, I always enjoy um the relationship building with people,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I might have always been, okay, if I'm gonna make a friend, and I'm the kind of person, okay, they don't want to talk to me, I'll stay quiet for a little bit. But because at first I can be shy, but not for long.
Yeah.
Watch out.
And then, so what advice would you give to somebody who maybe is not as bubbly and
Yeah.
and as things you adapt into all these different environments?
Probably my advice is you just need to try it, right? And it's not like you need to be like me or be like someone else. Be yourself, right? Just be yourself. Environments are gonna be there whether we do it or not, right? I see it, you have to see it as, okay, what can I learn from this environment, right? Even if it's negative, you can learn something. You can take something to turn it around,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
To be positive. And if it's positive, well, how can I make it better, right? Because sometimes you can have a environment, but how can I make it even better,
Yeah.
right? What can I bring to that environment? Yeah.
Value.
Yes.
See what value you can add.
Yes,
I love that.
exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
I like that. I like
Yes.
that. So now you're on this cruise ship
Yeah.
and you meet your husband,
Yeah.
right? So, okay, can you kind of go into that?
Break down how that played out.
Did he like sweep you off your feet? Or
Yeah.
did he? What did,
Oh, okay. Threw him under the bus.
I'm just saying authenticity. I mean, authentic. No.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, how I met is very interesting because my husband and I this is the first time I actually saw him. So I was in charge of the crew, so
Yeah.
I had to go downstairs to get my uniform because I was classified as an officer, right? So I had to go downstairs, get my uniform and whatever. And I remember he's just walking like the hallway and he hears me speaking. And I'm speaking Spanish with another Caribbean guy, I think it was. And he heard me and he's like, oh, you speak Spanish? And I'm like, yeah, right? But I was very snotty, right? Because, I'm like whatever. Yeah, right? Yeah, the boss. And you have to think like, I always have been like kind of like chunky girl, right? But so when he just met me, I was a chunky girl.
Yeah.
Then I never saw him after 3 months. So I went from 265 pounds at 19 years old. So you have to remember, I'm a little chunky. I went to all the way to 160 pounds in 3 months because I started working out and all that.
Wow.
And then
Wait, you went from 260
260.
to 100. You lost 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Damn.
And working out and eating right.
Whoa, that's some determination.
And I was like, what? 19, 20, right? Like, 20.
Wow.
And I remember, and then my hair was up to here. So remember, 260 pounds, long hair, no makeup. That's who I was. But when I said, "Oh, wait a minute, I can change," right? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I lost all my weight, cut my hair
Mm.
really short, right? And then I saw him again, and I said, "Oh, hello, Ricardo." That's all I said. It was like, "You're the
You
same
saw it.
lady
Yeah.
that was downstairs," and I said, yeah, right." And that was it, right? That was it. And then I started working with the art auctioneer
Mhm.
because we had an opportunity in the cruise ship to make extra money,
Yeah.
right? And so I worked with the art auctioneer, putting the art up and everything. And what happened was my husband was one of his helpers too. He
Yeah.
will work with him extra money. And then he started asking me, like he will say, "Do you want to go out?" Because our our
Mm.
our,
Shooting a
our
shot.
ship used to go to
Shooting a shot.
Mexico.
Yeah.
Right, all the time.
Yeah.
He was like, "You want to go out dancing?" And I always had an excuse because I used to babysit. Every time the ship was on dock,
Yeah.
I used to babysit because they used to pay you
Mm.
like for 1 hour, $160 US,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Because it's
Baby
One
sit
six,
too.
that's
cruise ship,
that's
right?
some money.
Yeah. So then, he will always invite me out. I will always say no, right? And then one day I just said, "Okay, I don't have nothing to lose. Might as well."
Persistence, guys.
Yeah.
Persistence.
Yeah. And then believe it or not, we got married after 3 months of getting to know each other.
Really? So, okay.
My man
So-
knew he knew from the get go.
So, as soon as
after that one day,
I
it was like,
after he knew.
yeah,
So, what made you make that decision so early in only 3 months?
You know what? Until this point, I don't really know.
Hmm.
It was just like we both decided it was mutual,
yeah,
Mm.
right?
yeah,
And it's interesting because we have gone through some in our years of marriage. We have gone through marriage counseling and things like that, right?
Mhm.
yeah,
And one day they asked him that question. He says, "If we probably would have done it again, we probably would have waited a little bit longer."
Longer.
Because what happened was we get married in 3 months,
Mhm.
but we don't really know each other, right?
Yeah.
It was, I think my daughter says, because you guys just have what is that word?
Infatuation.
Yes, that's what she says.
Yeah.
That's what all you guys had.
Yeah.
So it was almost like, "Okay, let's get married."
Yeah.
She says, right?
Yeah.
But through that process of all our years of marriage, we've been learning.
Learning
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
each other.
So I don't recommend you learning that way.
Not in this day and age.
Yeah,
No,
not that
not today.
3
No,
months, guys.
nope.
Go.
Nah, it doesn't like back then. Like I don't know. Like once again, I didn't grow up then, but like my guess is back then life wasn't as like challenging as it is right now.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
houses to get a house, money,
Yes. Yeah.
jobs. Like there's a lot that needs to be in place before you
So
actually get married.
true.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's different. Then you can take risks because like the house was like I don't know how much it was, but probably like 100, 150, 200,000. But now average house is like 500-600K. So
Yeah.
it's a
Ca-
huge difference.
Yeah, because our first home, our first townhouse we owned was only
So
50,000
you see,
in
I'm
2001.
moving overestimated. You see, so
Yeah, it's good.
Doesn't that give more incentive to find somebody?
For what?
Shared
The
income,
house?
because shared income, so you can pay for the house.
Bruh, see,
I'm just playing, y'all. I'm just playing.
I'm sorry, it doesn't.
I'm just playing,
And
y'all.
honestly, if it works, it works. I'll just put it that way. That's what I'll
Hey,
say.
what about love at first sight, man?
Okay. Good luck.
so, kind of, I guess, fast forwarding now.
Yeah.
Through all these years of marriage, 23 years of marriage.
Mhm.
Like I said, that's a big accomplishment, especially now where like so many people get divorced. I think the
Yeah.
divorce rate is like over 50% or something like that.
60%.
Yeah.
60%. That's almost
My
like that
gosh,
means
ya vienes a
one in every
joder
two,
otra vez.
right?
Because I
Yes,
like
that's
teasing
right.
you,
So,
right?
how did you guys defy the odds? And like, I guess, what would you say? Like, yeah, how do you defy the odds? Like how? And you mentioned there was a part in your relationship where you were
Yeah.
about to go separate ways. So how did you kind of deal with that, and how did you overcome that?
So we actually, I was the one who wanted to break it because it came to a point where I was giving all my life to work to the hotel industry, right? Because I wanted to make it so badly, right? Um, and then it just came like I was making my job the priority, right? Because he's a great man, great dad. Like I even said to my girls, I said, I envy you guys because you guys have such a great dad, something that I never had when I grew up, right? And yeah, he's just wonderful. And I remember, I was just I even date him in the Tim Hortons. I said, we need to talk. I took him to Tim Hortons and I said, I want a divorce. And he was like, what? Like, he's like, what's going on? And he was shocked. And then my mom was like, what are you thinking? And all that stuff, right? And then my sisters got involved, of course. And I was like, leave me alone, right? I have to figure this all by myself. But it was like this black shadow that comes over you. You're not seeing clear, right? Because it came to a point where he had everything. I was blaming him for everything, right? No, I was not at fault, right? I wanted to be independent and all that stuff, right? But I wasn't at fault. It was only him, right? And then I decided that actually I went to a sermon, to a church, and the pastor said, he was just teaching, and he said, everybody comes to a fork in their life. He said, either you want to do your own will or you want to do God's will, and ask him what that will is, right? And that stuck in me, right? I'm like, oh, okay, right? And then my mom and my sister actually was the one who said, let's go out for dinner, for lunch. And I said to her, no, you're going to talk to me about our marriage. And she said, I'm not, right? And we went, and she asked me one question. That's all she asked. And she said, do you still love Ricardo? And of course I burst into tears, and I said, yes, that stuff. And that's where we decided to go to marriage counseling. And that's where actually, I will never forget the therapist. He was a Christian therapist. We kind of grow up with this notion that marriage is 50-50, right? But actually marriage is 100 and 100%, right? It's 100 and 100%, right? And when he said that, I was like, oh my goodness, right? It says, no, it's not 50-50. It says 100 and 100%, right? Because yes, you probably, you first of all, you marry so young, right? So it's almost like a grieving process, he says, because you want to now, not maybe so much for him, but for you, because I was what, 21?
Yeah, there's so much things that you still want to do.
You can
Probably
run out to explore life and stuff.
Yeah. And that's why, right? And so I was like, okay, and and then that's where we both decided, okay, we're going to put more God into the middle, right, of our relationship. I started what I was looking for him, have you sometimes, in relationships, husband, wives, girlfriends, doesn't matter what it is, I see it more in women. Women are searching for something in the man, for the men to give them, to fulfill something. But it's only God that can fulfill that emptiness. It's only God that can fulfill that joy, right? Because that's where I was in that point, right? I was like, oh, but he's not like this. Oh, but he's not like that. Well, that's how God made him. Right? Like, and my fulfillment, when I started like searching more of God, then that emptiness started filling up, and now he can be my husband, right? Because he's a human, right? He's a human like me. I'm at fault as he is, right? But as when I started seeing that, then the whole the whole
Awesome.
world changed.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's very actually I never even heard the 100 and 100. I didn't even think about that. I was thinking 50-50 too.
Oh,
So but so that 100 and 100 that was very big, and I love how you said that you have to put God in the presence of it to make it work, because I think something that I'm more so realizing now, and that's why I said on the last I guess the intermission episode
yeah.
that one of my big goals is to really make sure that I put God in everything, because like I already tried by myself and it ain't working. So like there's gotta be you gotta try something else, right?
Yeah.
But what would you say are some of the most important things in a relationship or in a marriage to make it work?
I think the most important thing is, I'm a talker.
Mm.
I don't know, women say they talk like 3,000 or 30,000 words
Yeah.
in one day.
Yeah, it's a lot. They speak
That's a
lot.
lot of words. So,
Is that for every woman? Is that like a fact?
Woman.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a fact. Yeah.
it's a fact.
Whoa.
Yeah.
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 You know, I love you, mom.
Yeah.
I love you.
Oh, yeah, that's a fact. So, but I would say, listening,
Mhm.
right? Listening. I will say, sometimes when I see him upset or cranky, I leave him alone. Like I just like, okay, he needs to be by himself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because if I go there trying to be like the safety net or the motherly, I don't know, it comes to a point where you've been married for so long, you just kind of want to go rescue or be a mother.
Yeah.
And I know he hates that, right? Because it's like, right?
Yeah.
And so I just leave him alone, or, I like teasing him.
Yeah.
And he always says, oh my gosh, ya vienes a joder otra vez. Because I like teasing
Ooh,
him, right?
Spanish.
Yeah, Spanish.
Yes. Get out.
We got Spanish on the podcast.
Yeah.
now. Spanish listeners.
Latinos.
Oh my gosh. Holy. Oof.
So, is I know where those signs are. He knows, the signs and all that stuff. But I think the biggest thing is just the communication. Communication is very important. And, I think for us women, it's easier to just, right? But for men, it's not that easy to open up because there's some sort of vulnerability in them.
Yeah.
There's also a sort of pride,
Yeah.
even if we don't want to see it that way. But there is pride,
Yeah.
right? There's some sort of pride in men,
Yeah.
and I feel too like and I think this is a little bit off, but I feel that the respect of men is being lost, and that should not happen.
Oh, you're diving into a topic I preach about a lot. Like my girlfriend that I'm seeing right now, I told her one thing. I was like, love is good, but like my respect is number one. Because like my perspective is, if your woman doesn't respect you, she genuinely doesn't love you. Because like with respect comes love.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah. And like you said, this day and age, they're kind of pushing men to be like no longer per se men. If you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
it's not a conversation that people have. It's a conversation that they push away. When you try to have it, they're like, there's always like a stigma around it.
Yes.
When you're like, oh, respect men, this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. Because it needs to like, dads are important
Yeah.
in those daughters' lives. Dads are important in their sons'
Oh,
lives.
100%.
Right. And I've seen it. I've seen like one thing with me and my husband, one thing that has always worked that we find is if my girls will come and say, I'm gonna ask dad for permission, and since they were little, right? They try to play, right? I will say, no, your dad has the last say.
Yeah.
If he says yes, then okay, I'll say yes. But what did he say? Right? Because it's getting lost,
Yeah.
right? And I believe, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Right? And that's my belief, right? It's not about who's higher or lower.
Nope.
Were created equal,
Yeah.
right? And
Some duties are for
Yeah,
from
we'll
some
create it
sort
equal.
of-
Yeah, that's right. And then but yeah, I think that's has been our biggest. Like, I don't talk to my girls bad about their dad, never,
Yeah.
and he doesn't talk bad about me, right?
Yep.
We
Yeah.
what we do is, we joke with
Yeah.
each other, obviously, and they joke sometimes,
Yeah.
whatever, because it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have always had, comments.
Yeah.
Even people that come into my house as guests,
Yeah.
they see, oh, your house feels some sort of peace,
Yeah.
right? Because, and
That's a good thing to
yeah,
say.
there's has days that, yeah,
You wanna chop each other's
Yeah.
It's
which is
expected.
normal,
It's expected. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Am I gonna does he like me all the time, or I like him all now?
No.
Right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's life.
Yeah.
Actually, touching on that, do you think that conflict is necessary in a marriage, or should it always just be always good, always no problems, always everything is smooth?
No, conflict is necessary
Necessary.
is
Why?
necessary because it makes us stronger to
Mm.
realize our
Jump drop.
differences and become
Jump
better, to make better decisions.
Jump drop.
Yeah. So conflict is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can't be only, okay, I agree, because it's not, right?
Yeah.
And when we made that conscious decision, actually, it's kind of fun, kind of arguing,
Mm.
Yeah.
because now we can come to better solutions,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, we let it out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's not personal. It's
Yeah.
something because we need to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
think that's even not only in relationships, but even in life in general. I think
Yes.
conflict is good, because if
Yeah.
a lot of people don't engage in conflict, so then their true, real opinion or how they really feel is not actually voiced.
Exactly.
They say, okay, whatever. But
is
I
what
don't
it
get to say how I really felt, and I can build resentment and all these
Mhm.
other different things, right?
Yes.
So I think that is important in general too.
Exactly. Conflict is important, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Even teaching our kids as little age, kind of like that. I get into conflicts with my 22, and
Yeah.
it's fun
Yeah.
because she always has this back, right? And she always wins because she kind of like, she always backs it up with her whatever she has
Yeah,
under
yeah.
her belt.
Yeah. She got the facts.
Yeah. But then we always go back and forth, right? And it's great because just our relationship gets
Gets
stronger.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Because I think even if you know that you can engage in a type of conflict with that person,
Yes.
then it helps a
Yeah.
lot too, right? Like,
Yeah, because I met this guy. Actually, he's in my spiritual director
Mhm.
course.
Yeah.
And one thing that he said, they were talking about, okay, what do you use for relaxation? And he says, I go out and look for people that will disagree with me.
Hmm.
And we're like, what? And he says, yeah, because then we're starting a very interesting conversations
Yeah.
and we learn from each other even more. That's what he does
Mm.
on his relaxing. He says he works.
That's a first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very interesting. Older gentleman. Yeah, very interesting. I've never have heard that until he said that. Yeah, and so it made me think.
Yeah. Okay, so we were talking a little bit about respect for, like, you feel like the respect for men has kind of been gone or lost.
Yes.
How kind of would we get that back, or what do you think that we need to do to get that back?
I think we need to put God back into our homes and into our communities, right? To
Powerful
bring
word.
that back.
Let's bring that back.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, kind of, we talked a little bit about, we went into your marriage
Yes.
and those things. So now, for people out there
Yes.
who are either getting married or who are married, what advice would you give to them who are trying to get to the stage that you're at, being 23 years into marriage? What advice would you give to those people that are aspiring to be like that?
Okay, so my advice will be respect each other, right? Put 100%
Mhm.
each other, learn from each other. Also, my advice will be put God, first of all, everything, put God in the center. Because once God is in the center, everything starts falling into place.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm.
So, and then you'll
And then-
move. I'm not saying it's going to be easy,
Yeah.
but it is going to give you that fulfillment.
Okay.
start moving
Yes.
in the right direction.
That's right.
And like we said earlier too, conflict is necessary. So don't avoid the conflicts that would come up. Just try and work through them.
Yeah,
That's
embrace
right.
it. Embrace it.
Embrace it.
No, it's expected.
It's expected.
Yeah.
It's like conflict in life. You need it. So we've kind of gone through your early childhood. We've gone through all these. You've gone through the hotel business.
Yes.
You've gone through the cruise line business. Very experienced. Done lots of different cool things, guys. So now you got into the wealth creation industry.
Yes.
The financial industry. Kind of tell us about that. What kind of made you change from, okay, you know what, I'm done with the hotel industry, to now get into the wealth creation industry, and what was the kind of the purpose behind that?
The purpose behind me getting into the wealth creation industry, of course, the financial service industry always fascinated me because I always knew there was like, okay, what can I get money work for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's, of course, there was nowhere to get helped.
Yeah.
You go to the bank, no, they're order takers. I always
Mhm.
looked at it that way. I got pretty much me and my husband, we did mistake after mistake.
Yeah.
But again, it was also because of bad advice.
Mm.
Salespeople always looking for their own benefit,
Yeah,
not the
yeah.
benefit of the person
That's
they
right.
want to help.
Yeah.
So I actually decided, my sister has always, one of my younger sisters, always very successful with money.
Mhm.
And she's the one who actually introduced me with the company that I started part-time.
Yeah.
And the reason I wanted it was because I wanted to learn it for myself,
Yeah.
right? And me and my husband, we had quite a bit of debt for previous business that we had.
Yeah.
And I said, if I can learn it for myself, I can educate myself. If I get myself out of debt with my husband, oh my goodness, right?
Set for life.
Yes.
100%.
And very sad. So anyway, so I started this journey 7 years ago. Again, I didn't know anything about it. I went, did an exam, whatever. They gave me books. I studied them. I passed my exams, and then I started the journey there. Then I decided, okay, maybe I can do this full time, right? Helping others. Why not? I did in 2016. I jumped in for full time. All in. It was scary, but I did. All commissions, believe me. And but I did it.
Yeah.
And the more I learned, it wasn't easy getting out of debt, but last year we only have our mortgage now. We
Hey,
finished all our
debt-free.
debt.
Hey.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, like,
How?
what financial steps did
Yes.
you take?
What
to
was
be
the
debt-free?
process?
So
I have a feeling I know what you might have done, but I want you to say it first before.
okay, so my financial steps were, I had to change my habits.
Okay.
We had to change our behavior,
Yeah.
because behavior plays a big role,
Yeah.
and that's really hard to do,
Mm.
right? We have never been people that like luxury stuff or anything like that, but we do we did like eating go out, or things like that,
Yeah.
right? But so what we did is we changed our behavior. We started putting a plan together. I put my financial need analysis together, so that listed all the debts and why not. And then I started with the little debt first and worked towards my bigger debts. Yes, that's novel. We call it debt stacking, right? As well, yeah. So I did that, right, with my husband, and then every little single extra money that we got, we put it towards debt.
Yeah.
Even when we used to get like our tax refunds, that went into our debts, right?
Yeah.
And then of course my business started doing better and better, right? And then I started now dividing that income, putting aside for my taxes, because as self-employed, you have to pay your own taxes, right?
Yeah.
So side for my taxes, side for my investments, side for my traveling, and all that
Budgeting,
stuff. And then so we're not yet where we want to be, but I know we're going to get there,
Yeah.
right? We know we're going to get there.
I like that.
Right?
That's a mindset right there.
It is.
That's a mindset. What
Yeah.
she said she's not there where she wants to be yet, but they will get there. That's
Yes.
a mindset.
That is.
That's a mindset, guys. Remember that.
Yes. So then, creating that wealth, and I'm bringing this to my nieces, my nephews. I have a passion for the young people to start this
Yeah.
young.
Yeah.
Like I wish somebody would have told me when I was 20, put $100 away.
Yo, he grows
Oh my God, I would have been a millionaire now.
He grows big.
Right? It grows big. The power of, that, what do you call that? The compound interest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Adds up over time.
Yes.
Yeah.
The compound interest is so powerful. I love mutual funds. That's me.
Woohoo! Speaking my language.
Yeah, I love mutual funds, right? I love exploring that. And I experience it for myself. So I bring what I have experienced to people on the table,
Yeah.
right? Because I have lived it. I know how it is,
Yeah.
right? So my daughters, they are growing up with that mindset,
Yeah.
right? And I started with my little one with jars, right? And now the oldest, she has her own, investments, and why not? And then my niece, my nephew, right? I'm guiding them
Yeah.
through that
Yeah.
wealth creation, and even seeing sad, like even some seniors, they might not have so much time, but I always say, have a little bit,
Yeah.
because it's different when you need to go to the dentist and they don't cover you enough.
Yeah.
Right? Just have something.
Yeah.
Right? That's my message for also immigrants.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's sad because they come here, they want to give you debt. They like mortgage. I saw the other day, oh, you're new to Canada, have your mortgage.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, okay, but they don't even know what that means. Like, so yes, so my wealth creation is, that's how I started it. I'm actually being in this company for 7 years. I'm independent, like my own contractor or whatever. But I'm actually looking into going independent, going with my own name, right? With my own business, right?
Okay, are you allowed to tell us what that name is going to be?
Yes.
Okay.
MZ, because that's my Maria Zapata. It's MC Simple Financial Concepts. Yes.
Simple financial concepts.
Yes.
You guys see that? Don't worry, we're gonna drop
Powerful.
the logo link, everything. We're gonna drop it down here.
That's powerful.
Down.
Yeah.
Down
That's
here.
powerful. That's powerful. So my guess from that name, for just the name, all I think it is you're breaking down financial plans in a simple form. That's my guess.
Yes.
I like
Yes.
that. I love that.
Simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like, honestly, like, I'm a there, but like I'm just imagining, because I know being in a position where you're debt free, because I've been there and know what it is to like not owe anyone money. That feels good. You know
Yeah.
that whatever money comes into your way, you pay your necessary bills, and then the rest you're like, ooh, what am I gonna do with this money? Like it feels good. It actually feels very good.
Mind.
The peace of mind, like you can save, and there's always, I don't know if you know him. I think you might have said his name. Dave Ramsey.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know.
He has a
Ramsey.
saying where he's like how does he put it? Always prepare for a rainy day, even if
Yes.
you don't expect it.
Exactly.
So
Yes, that's right. Yes, always prepare. That emergency fund is so vital,
yes,
right? And I'm not saying, put your emergency fund in your saving. You know how some people have the checking and the saving?
yeah,
That doesn't work because they use
So
it.
you can see
very easy.
Right?
You can see it. You can actually.
Yes, yeah. So, and I have to say this, I always say this to my clients.
Yeah.
When they start saving for emergency, I say wine and coffee is not emergencies.
See,
Yeah.
yeah,
And they
That's
look at
very-
me like, what?
that's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do have just one question to ask, which is, how would you suggest anyone that's trying to like change their financial habits? What tips do you have? Because that, like you said, that's the hardest stuff to do. But like, how do you actually say the habit, the spending habits? Because I know you have to have the will, like you have to want it. But like, what tips or tricks would you have that you can implement that will make it easier to change the habit?
And just to add on to that question, what mindset do you need to have as well during that process of changing your habits?
Yes. So the mindset is you need to see where you're going. where you're heading,
Okay.
what you want,
Okay.
right? And the mindset is you can do it.
Mm.
You will do it if you put the willingness to do it,
Mhm.
right? And the tips will be like, okay, so most people drive to Tim Hortons,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Some people drive every day. I'm not saying most because I used to be one of them,
Yeah.
right? So that's, let's say you get a large, extra large double. That's almost like $2, $2.20.
Yeah.
But I will say $2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you calculate $2 for 5 days a week, you go to work. That's $10.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That will be $40 a week. Let's say 4 weeks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You can easily put those $2 aside, right?
Yeah.
And see
Awesome.
how it will add up,
Yeah.
right?
That's up there.
And then you start just those small little habits. You have to start small.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because if you start like saying to me, I'm going to put $100 a month, well, I have seen people that they don't even make it for the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
month, right? So start
Mm.
slow
And then gradually.
and gradually you build into that,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
And another tip will be, is if you have only one job, maybe start thinking of maybe what you can do on the side, not another job,
Mhm.
because that's going to cost you more taxes,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
You want to do some kind of like maybe a business, right? Business on the side. I know there's a lot of negativity, those multi-level marketing businesses, right?
Yeah.
There's quite a bit of negativity around that. But I have known people that start those little businesses on the side, kind of like, okay, I'll take some tax write-offs or whatever,
Yeah.
and they'll sell a little bit here and there and put that money aside, right? Do something that will generate some kind of extra income so maybe you can get out of debt sooner,
Yeah.
right? I will advise maybe don't get another job, because if you already have a high paying job, it will add into the next tax
Tax
bracket.
bracket.
And then
Yeah.
you end up more in trouble,
And you get in tax even
right? In
more, yeah.
taxes.
Yeah.
But my tip will be start small,
Mm.
right? Start now, little by little. If you have a spouse, make a plan,
Mm.
right? Make a plan together. If you have kids, involve your kids.
Yeah.
The kids are the best to keep you accountable,
Yeah.
right? If you say to your kids, no, we're not going to go out, maybe just once a month just to treat ourselves,
Yeah.
then do it. It
Yeah,
has to
awesome.
have balance,
Yeah.
right? Because you don't want to be so restrictive that then you're going to give up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Because it's not easy,
Yeah.
right? Because you have to remember a lot of these behaviors we have learned since we were little,
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
That's very
right?
true.
Yeah.
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 So just have that, we have to change those behaviors and those habits slowly,
Mhm.
right? And make it a lifestyle, I will say,
Ah.
That's
right?
the
It's
point.
like losing weight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to make it lose.
It's not like a once every day or
Yeah.
once every week or something like that. It's
Yeah,
you
yeah.
create a lifestyle.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay.
One question that I have that I actually didn't remember didn't ask, but what is the biggest obstacle or struggle that you have faced in your life? How did you overcome it, and what did you learn from it?
The biggest struggle that I probably have dealt in my life, it was actually when they gave me 10% of living. I was 15 years old. I went into a surgery. I had a 24-pound tumor in my abdomen. Yeah, I was 15, turning 15. And they told my mom that they had to operate, obviously,
Yeah.
but they will only give me 10% of chances of living.
Oh wow.
10%.
Whoa.
That's all they were giving her.
Wow.
And so that was a challenge, because actually before they actually diagnosed me with that tumor, I actually looked like a pregnant 15-year-old. I was thin all over, just the stomach was huge.
Oh,
Yeah, and the struggles was because I was teased at school and all that stuff.
Yeah, they think you were pregnant.
Yes, and it was, and my mom, I never liked doctors, to tell you the truth. I never did.
Mm.
And my mom always thought you need to go to the doctor, need to go to the doctor. But what made me went to the doctor was when the school called my mom and said, are you sure your daughter's not pregnant? And my mom was like,
Yeah.
no. So my mom actually took me to the doctor, and that same day they did an ultrasound, and sure enough, it was a 24-pound tumor.
Holy
And they, they gave my mom only 10% for me to live at
So,
right on my birthday.
so did you know that? And did they tell you as well that you only have 10%?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
the
wow.
same. Yeah, yeah. 10%. Chances are, if I would survive, maybe I will never have kids. Right.
Wow.
That was the
Yeah.
also
What a
the
blessing.
risk. Yeah.
Wow.
And I went through that at 15. They did surgery. They actually opened me up from here to the bottom. So, being 15 and have this big surgery on you, right? And all that stuff. So, when you're that age, and then you have to go back to high school and get undressed in the
Mm.
gym, and they
Yeah,
see
I see
this scar,
scar,
right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it just plays a big struggle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I learned how to that was a reminder for me that also God was there,
Yeah.
right? That God
Mm.
was there at that time, and that's why I believe there's a bigger purpose for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, so it can be monetary, or even if it's not, God has a purpose, right?
Mm.
Yeah. And I think
Mm.
my biggest one of the I think I don't know if because I'm getting, but I'm 45 years old.
Yeah.
But one of the things is, now I'm coming to a point where I'm thinking is, if 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 I can be remember how I made others feel,
Yeah.
that's the biggest,
Yeah.
right? I want to be remember how that lady made me feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So I think that's success in itself.
Mm. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that.
Yeah.
And I will say that you do make me feel well. I mean, for me personally, you made me feel good. That's why, like, the first time that I met you, like I said, that bubbly personality. You're always
Yeah.
smiling. It was very bubbly. Like I could feel
You
it,
can
the
probably
energy,
tell
right?
through
The
the screen
positive.
too. So
Yeah,
for the viewers out there or people that are listening.
yeah.
So,
That's wow. That,
you've been through
you've been through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like you've like that's very inspiring, actually. For me, because you've been through like from since pretty much like from since birth, like
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sure,
like just so many different experiences to see the type of person that you have become and that you are. I think is a testament not only to God's um like direction and will in your life, but just to the type of character that you have. Because
Yeah.
a lot of people go through different struggles like that, and they don't
Yeah.
come out on like
Nope.
the way that you are, so
Mm.
positive and so happy, so bubbly. Like a lot of people, they don't come out like that. So I think
Yeah.
that's something that I really, really admire and respect.
And I would even to add to like what like you were saying is like you've been through challenges where you could have easily been like excuse, like you say, oh, this is the reason why
Yeah.
I'm where I'm at.
Yeah.
But like regardless of whatever the challenge that you face, whatever it is, you put God first and then you overcame it.
Mhm.
So it's not like using your excuse to tell yourself not to like push past it. And I think also even to add to is like I can't remember where I heard it, where a guy was like, if everyone sees the struggle that you have to go through in life, and you see your own, like say for example, you're going through the struggle, and then you see the challenge that other people are going through, you're gonna pick your own stuff and just keep it going because you never really know
Yeah.
what people
What
actually are going through. Like
Yeah.
you never know. Under the smiley face,
Yeah.
a lot of people might be going through stuff or being through stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
And just like what Ori just touched on there, that's really the purpose of this podcast. You see how Maria is able to tell us all those different things that she's gone through. But look at the type of person that she is, right? Look at the type of positivity that she brings through. And you guys can, I know that you guys can feel it. I can feel it here. So
yeah,
I know you guys can feel it through the camera, through the mic or whatever. But like the whole purpose of the podcast is to share these type of experiences and the struggles, to see how they overcame it and what they've learned from it, and how that can inspire and motivate our listeners, because it motivates and inspires me and Ori here as on the podcast itself, right? So
yeah,
that's really, really cool. But one thing that I want to kind of dive into a little bit is just the importance of God. You mentioned, and I noticed you mentioned God throughout the whole kind of interview, right?
Yes.
And even we start the every podcast with God.
Yes.
So what is the importance and the role that God plays, especially being a spiritual director? Like, how did you get into that, and what role does God play in your life, and how important is he to your craft and to your grind?
I believe God has played in my life since I was a little girl. Since my mom decided to become like a Baptist Christian, because we came, we have always grow up in the Catholic Church, but my mom decided to become a Baptist Christian back in Guatemala. So the first time I experienced God was like in a Sunday school, under a little rainy roof, leaky, and I knew that I had a purpose in my life, but I knew God had to play the role, right? And one of the areas where I really experienced God more than anything was where they also gave my husband in 2003. He was hospitalized for 3 months, and they were giving him. They actually told him he had cancer. They said he has cancer, but I was like, okay, God, this is it. Zauri was only 1 year old, and he had an encounter with God at the hospital, the Royal Alex, and I had an encounter with God in my van when I was arguing to God that couldn't happen, right? And I think that's where he actually became this grounded man in God, because God healed him from whatever the doctor said he had, and God healed him. And my husband is here with us. He was from a 200 and 230 man. You know him, how right? He went from that to 100 pounds in 2003, right, at the Royal Alex. So he was just like, yeah, it was bad. But God walked with me through that. And so seeing God move in all these areas in my life, then last year, and then actually when I was doing the wealth building and seeing clients, I started noticing that every time I will go to see a client, they will just pour to me their hurts, their problems, right? And I will always say, okay, why don't we pray? Right? So we kind of and these people, some of them are not even Christians or believe in God, and they will say, what? Oh, okay. And they will just let me pray. And I wanted it to learn more. This is what is giving me maybe the tools for my spiritual director. So I'm actually becoming a spiritual director, graduating in April of this year.
Okay.
Yes, which I'm very excited about. My spiritual direction, of course, is based on how to walk with people who would like to learn more of the journey with Christ, journey with God, maybe putting those disciplines, small disciplines, prayer, devotion. We all experience God differently. Some people experience it in nature. Some people experience it in music. So there is no right or wrong how to experience God. But it's just answering those deep questions that we ask ourselves. Where's God? Who's God? Right? What do you mean? What do you want for my life? What is the purpose? Right? And so what I'm doing, my spiritual director, I'm calling it my ministry, because my whole goal in the US and in Canada now, a lot of spiritual directors are charging money to do this. But for me, it's like, if I can walk with a young person, an old person, a middle-aged person, to find that journey and that relationship with God, then that's my ministry, right? That's my ministry. I love doing that. I love walking with that journey with people that want to experience that relationship, right? That peace that comes within. Yeah.
I really like that. You said something that really stuck out to me. You said that everybody experiences God in a different way.
Yes.
Some in nature, some in whether it just be going for their walks or reading the Bible, whatever ways they might experience God, music. So because I think maybe this is just me, but like I feel like a lot of times people feel like the only way to experience God is going to church and being in church and being present there. But I've talked to a lot of people that I think have really cool and really close relationships with God, and they don't go to church all the time, but they have a really good like relationship with God, speaking to Him,
Yes.
right? So I like that you said that. And kind of a question that I have is how, like, there's lots of times when we're not doing the things that we're supposed to do. We're messing up a lot.
Yeah.
Not you're not grounded where you would like to be, even though you should be doing better. And sometimes you feel like it's hard to go to God because you're doing so many wrong things. How, like, what advice would you give to somebody is trying to be better, but they're struggling a lot, and they feel guilty of, like, they feel too guilty to say go to God and ask Him for help?
Yes. So one thing that I want to remind everyone is that God is love. Right? God is love. God is passionate. God is compassionate. God is good. Right? God doesn't make people feel ashamed, right? Make them feel guilty. He's the good father. He's the perfect father, right? And when you can come to God, no matter how mess up you think you are, right? You can come with God with your shouts, with your screams. There's nothing wrong in questioning God because God is so big. He's our father. He loves us. He created you. He made you uniquely, right? So the enemy, is the lies. Is like the mind, right? Like, okay, I can't go with God because I did something so horrible, right? But you have to remember, God is that compassion father. He's not there with a hammer, rod. No, he's there to hug you and to love you. And yes, sometimes we feel like, but I can't feel him, but he's the closest. Because I always like this analogy when they say, when you're going through a test, the teacher is silent, right? Yes, right. The teacher is silent. Yeah. Right. So God is there. He loves you, and that's where I think the spiritual direction comes, because you need a safe place, right? Where someone's not going to shame you or condemn you, because there's nothing that God cannot forgive. The church is the hospital for sinners, and unfortunately that sometimes gets missed messages, right? The church is important because of the community, right? We want to have community with people, with other believers and all that, but we need to just keep our eyes on Jesus, right? Because Jesus, you have to remember, if you look at the cross, he died with his hands like this, but he's saying, I love you, because he did it for you. So go to God. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, because he is waiting for you. He knows your heart, right? He is the one who knows you.
Oh,
God.
I think that what you said is really important. It said, even no matter how bad or how guilty we feel from the things, because I think it's in our nature to sin,
Yes.
right? And so we're gonna mess up. There's gonna be times when we mess up, but we can always go to God, regardless of how bad we feel, how much we've messed up, no matter what we've done.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good thing to know. To know, because it makes it, even no matter you don't have anybody else to talk to, you can talk to God. If I don't feel like I can talk to Ori, I don't feel like I can talk to my sister or my mom or my dad, I can talk to God, right? So I think that's something that's really, really big. And I'm always going to talk about the importance of God, because I just think I don't think I would be here I know that I wouldn't be here without God, right? With that injury, like, I was so close to dying. So it really changed my perspective on a lot of things. So I really have to make sure that I give God that proper praise and what he's due, right?
Yeah.
Kind of on that note, kind of winding down here to our big question.
Boom, boom.
Is is what is your theory of the grind? What is your theory of the grind?
Like grinding, right?
Yes.
My theory of the grind is no matter what you do, you have to grind something.
True.
You have to grind something. Either you grind through relationships, either you grind through, like obstacles. Can be sickness, right? Can be like a conflict, right? So grinding for me is something that no matter how hard it is to grind, I always, when you say grinding, it reminds me of that corn.
The corn, when you grind the cornmeal.
Yeah, a cornmeal. Yeah, right? Because you have to get it to make that tortilla.
Or penny.
She burned it out again.
So everything in life you have to grind, right? So why not just, I have grind so many obstacles. I'm going to keep going, right? Because I can't give up now, right? But the finer, when we start, I find it that it's hard, right? But then it gets easier and easier and easier. And then, the rewards, right?
And just as you were saying that, I just thought about when you grind, right? The corn in the grind, it's all those the whole kernels.
Yeah.
But as you grind, it becomes smooth. It becomes
Yes.
smooth. So as you go through the process, the obstacles, they're hard initially.
Yeah.
They're hard. They're difficult.
Yeah.
Yes.
But as you keep going and keep grinding through them, they become smooth, right? They
Yes.
become smooth and finer, right?
Yeah.
And you can actually learn from those things. You can actually eat it after, So
Exactly.
I don't think you can eat the obstacle, but
Yeah.
I mean, but like
the lesson
if
from it.
you're using that analogy, it's just like the eating the final results, like the rewards.
Yes,
So-
that's right.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And in the beginning, you can't really. Well, you could eat it, but it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and then
rough.
it becomes nice, and you can make it into something nice.
Yes.
So from your obstacles, you can take the lessons and stuff like that, and make yourself into all those obstacles and those things that you've been through. All those things that Maria has been through
Yes.
has helped her to become the woman that she is, the type of person that she is, and has made her better.
Yeah.
So honestly, I'm very inspired because I didn't know all those things. It's just so cool of how many things that you have gone through, and then you can stay so positive, and your mindset is so. You said I'm not gonna give up.
Yeah.
You said it doesn't matter. Like it's not even an option. I'm not gonna give up.
Yes.
And so just two last questions. Last two questions. Last question is, out of all the things that your whole life, right? Your whole life that you've been through so far, what is two major lessons that you have learned?
So I have learned relationships is very important. I have believed that whatever you do, good or bad, it will come back to you, right? So that's one of the lessons in my life that I have grown. So always, I have always been very cautious, or not cautious, but very aware of how to make it, how you treat somebody, it will come
back to you.
It will come back to you.
Always does.
And sometimes it won't come back. Like if you do something good, don't be afraid to do something good, even if it's your time or with money or whatever.
Yeah.
But will always come back. God will always bless you back either with health, protection for your family, right? So that's what I have learned in all this, and also to be resilient. To be very resilient, because bad things are going to happen. Just keep going. People will always share their opinions. It can be a bad comment in Facebook or whatever, but just learn to move forward from that. Right. And then but just be resilient, because challenges are coming.
It always does. You can't skip it.
Exactly.
And what was your last question?
And so the last question is, who would you like to see on the podcast next? Who would you recommend for the podcast next?
Okay, so I would like to recommend my daughter, Sahori Zapata.
Ooh,
Yes.
the spot.
So just so you know, whoever, guys, I took this from oh man, Oh, wow.
You can do
You
it.
can't remember the name.
But
You can't
all
remember.
the smoke podcast with Matt and Stack. So the one thing is, so whoever you recommend, you have to give us the in to get that person.
Okay.
So
She chose an easy one. So yeah, chose an easy one.
So you guys heard that?
How'd you say name again? The name? The daughter?
Well, the pronunciation is Saori, but she likes to be called Sahori.
Zapata.
Yeah.
Sahori.
Zapata, yeah.
So it was an absolute pleasure.
Yes, it was.
Is there any where can the people find you if they want to get in touch with you, whether with your financial wealth creation services or spiritual director services, or if they just want to hear just to hear your story, get some advice from you? Where can they find you? Where can they reach you? What can they look for? What's upcoming?
Yeah, so actually, they can look me up on Facebook.
Okay.
Under actually is my group name is MC Simple Financial Concepts, right? They can actually also email me at mcsimplefinancialconcepts@gmail.com. They also can send me a text. Like I love hearing from people, so they can send me a text, and I am not shy of sharing my phone number. So my cell phone number is 780-265-2948. Even if you just want some, a tip or something, they can always reach me out there. I'm working on my website, so that one's not up yet.
Ooh, that's
But
major.
yes.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm always, doesn't matter if you want some tips or you want to pray, I'll be there.
Yes. And just so you all know, I'm not laughing at Kill because of the camera movement is doing.
Yeah.
I should record it.
Cameraman 101. And